All right, guys. So we've talked a lot recently about how Joe Biden's polls are literally some of the worst I've ever seen. Um, he's at 33% approval rating. I'm not sure there's a single polling outlet that has him above 40% approval rating right now, which is a historic disaster. He is lower than Jimmy Carter was before he lost his reelection effort. Think about that. He's lower than Trump was before he lost his reelection effort. And I haven't even brought up the specifics. I haven't even brought up Arab Americans and Muslim Americans fleeing him at a colossal clip. He had like 60% support among them. Now it's below 20. I haven't even brought up in that poll, he's losing the demographic of the young to Trump by 4. He's losing Latinos to Trump. These are demographics that if a Democrat wants to win, they have to hold these demographics by wide margins. So with all the bad news coming in about Biden, and let's keep it real, the most important thing that matters above everything else is how he's backing Netanyahu's slaughter of Gaza. That's leading to most of his polling implosion. A large part of his polling implosion is directly due to that. Well, MSNBC decides, let's go into full North Korea mode, right? Let's praise the dear leader and act like nothing's wrong and everything's actually going swell, and bring in some of Biden's campaign people to push this narrative of like, our guy's the man. So look at this. This is really a segment to see. This is Jen Psaki, who used to work for the White House, doing a segment on Biden.
Let me ask you about another topic that comes up. I get asked about this a lot, is the president's age. A lot of this, in my view, was driven by kind of right-wing efforts to make him seem old and senile, and that was...
All right. I don't think that's fair. I just don't. My mom voted for Biden in 2020, and she says, I don't know, man, he's just too old. It's just hard to watch him talk. You know, I know somebody else who's a little older than my mom. Same thing. Like, is probably even going to vote for him the second time, but says he's going to lose a lot of support. He's looking really old, and he can barely get through an event. So this idea it's just whipped up by the right wing. No, people have eyes, man. People have eyes. It's not true. Like a normie apolitical person could look at it and go, he doesn't look good.
Experience. He's the age he is. But it still is an issue to combat, right? It pops in polls. It is something that comes up in focus groups. You, Rob, were a part of, I know not alone, but kind of flipping the Dark Brandon meme to make it more of a winner, probably to the anger of the people who were screaming, let's go Brandon at events. How do you combat this kind of ongoing attack on his age and these attacks and suggestions that he's not up for the job?
So the American people know Joe Biden's age. They also know that with that age comes wisdom, comes experience, comes judgment. That's why they elected him in the first place. And I would also say that they understand that those qualities stand in stark contrast to everybody else on the other side, particularly as it relates to Donald Trump.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's like 3 different things I think about when we're tackling this. One is like the Dark Brandon stuff works because, yes, it's funny. And yes, it's sort of memey, but also it is based in that truth.
Oh, my God. Guys, it's been over a year since those Dark Brandon memes have been floating around social media. Yeah, back at the time when he was trying to reduce some student loan debt, back at the time when he gave the Supreme Court the middle finger and said, I'm still going to try to reduce this student loan debt, back at the time when he brought 800,000 manufacturing jobs back, of course, there were moments where it was like, oh, this is good, pulling out of Afghanistan. The media hated it, but the young base was like, this is based, we like it. Yeah, at that time, it was Dark Brandon, Dark Brandon, Dark Brandon. We're not there anymore. Now he's backing a genocide. Now he's arming a genocide. So, everything else sort of becomes less important when you decide to back a historic atrocity. So, Jesus Christ, it's not organic anymore. This is not organic. It is not organic. Stop pretending like it's organic.
With things shooting out of them. I don't know if you're responsible for that, but that was my favorite.
But here's the best part about it is that we're not actually responsible for it. It's a bunch of people who support the president who are doing it themselves. That speaks to a core truth about the president's experience and his ability to get stuff done.
No. That is not the case anymore. No. There was a time when all that stuff was fair and everybody was having fun with it. And I was having fun with Dark Brandon. We are not there anymore. Stop pretending. Stop living in the past and pretending like everything's okay. Everything's hunky-dory now. That's so disingenuous. Okay, but now let's get to the main point. Sure, he's old. But with that also comes wisdom and comes experience. Do you think that's what people are thinking? Is that what people are thinking? Because it's over 70% of the country says, I don't think he's going to make it through a second term. They are actually holding his age against him because he's on a cognitive decline. Nobody's thinking wisdom. Nobody's thinking experience. And by the way, it's not like this was a super compelling argument to begin with, because people have kind of hated politicians for a very long time now. And so if you've been in D.C. for a really long time, your experience is pretty fucking bad. Your experience is like green lighting the Iraq war. Your experience is green lighting NAFTA and various free trade deals that outsource jobs, right? Now, to be fair, since then, Biden's actually onshored a lot of jobs as president. I give credit where credit is due. But at the same time, what they're not grappling with is your goofy little North Korea style rah-rah dear leader segment is not going to work, especially right now. Biden really believes, and his team really believes, this Gaza thing will blow over. I don't agree. That's why we're seeing a record number of protests. That's why we're seeing people scream F Joe Biden in front of the White House. That's why they're trying to shut down roads that lead to airports. That's why they're shutting down bridges. That's why they're trying to stop weapons shipments from certain ports that are going to Israel. This is not something that's just going to blow over. And I haven't even brought up from the economic perspective. Yes, there was a time you made some really good decisions. Well, guess what? Since then, he allowed all of the expanded social safety net protections to go away. So people were doing okay because they had a decent social safety net during the pandemic. Now they took all that away, and people are struggling again. And you could talk about the low unemployment rate. You could talk about the market, the numbers in the market being good. You can talk about all that stuff. That is not a good indicator of how your average American is doing. A better indicator of that is, living paycheck to paycheck, for example, which that number is really freaking high. So, I don't know, man. It's so hollow at this date, right? Watching what's going on in Gaza, watching what Biden is doing, bombing the Houthis illegally. Like, he does all that, and they're still doing these. To be fair, I think this segment was before that. But it's just so forced, right? It's not tapping into some, like, grassroots genuine support for him. It's just, like, trying to pretend like that exists, even though it doesn't. And it strikes me as incredibly disingenuous.
Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.